You're listening to the Impact Tech Studio podcast. Today's guest is Harish Hande, co founder of SELCO. He shows how solar is an enabler, not the centerpiece, powering livelihoods and reliable healthcare at the last mile. We discuss vernacular entrepreneurship, failure capital, reverse profit sharing, and examples from Manipur weaving to Meghalaya delivery rooms. Let's get started.
Hello.
Hello, Harish. How are you?
Hi. Good, boss. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Why we reached out to you was yours is a movement which is actually an impact that is having the value to change the whole structure of regional development in a way that it helps the government to add value at scale with you so that one push of the scale that you have already planned to achieve and what you've achieved in the south, if it could be made a national movement, we were very happy to see your movement where you are doing that work. So this is our new guest on the podcast, and he is an achiever who can drive us in the right direction of how to think, how to design, and how to execute for sustainability and look at a problem which is a meaningful problem and make a solution for it. So welcome, Harish. Pleasure to have you in our podcast.
Thank
In this journey of yours, how old is your company? What drove you to design this product? What was your push that made you to make this movement as your main aim for your life? So please give us an understanding of Selco and everything around it.
No, Selco is a family of, presently I run the foundation, but we are 30 plus years old. The whole concept is how do you bring sustainability as a way of life in terms of, rather than making solar panels as a centerpiece,
Right.
we look at solar panels as an enabler, like a salt in a dal. I mean, the whole end goal is dal or a roti, right? So the end goal is better livelihoods and better health services to the population at the last mile. And so for us, the product is not about technology. The product is actually a combination of what you call it as how it could be, for example, an end user in rural Manipur. It's a combination of a silk weaving machine, which is efficiently works on X amount of solar panels being financed by the Manipur Grameen Bank, and they do have appropriate market linkages in the IMA market, right? So we basically create the whole ecosystem that is required for the end user. In this case, the woman in a rural village in Manipur
Right.
to actually transform her incomes from X levels, right? Similarly, if I go to rural Meghalaya, how do you make sure that the delivery rooms are in terms in designed in the most efficient way and has no problems of any, for example, either the autoclave or the suction pumps or the baby warmers are in place. So for us, it's the combination of an ecosystem that we put in place.
So whenever you execute a full solution to the local problem, right? You're not only the solar panel, but you also become their partner in understanding what the real problem is and how to make it sustainable for that problem, right? So you
And
will
who will take it forward? In the same sense, in some cases, can the bank actually create a long-term financing? So it need not be us alone, right? In a sense that who takes it forward? In the case of health and education, can the government scale it up?
right.
So for us, the end goal is Selco should not exist after 10 years.
Right, right. It should become a process that just gets executed across.
Right, right.
So what is your structure of your organization? So how are you making money? How are you becoming sustainable as a company in itself?
So this is two parts. See, I used to lead the company some years ago before I shifted to the foundation. The whole concept of the company is that it's owned by three social investors. We
Right.
we install and we make money on the installation, but the profits are only distributed to the bottom 40% of the organization. The least earning employees get the hit of the profits, and the shareholders as well as the management has no stake in the profits.
Hmm.
So it's so that's why it went on for 30 years, and if you look at the turnover of people, it's less than 5 people out of the 800 who leave every year. And so it's the technicians, the office assistants actually get the first hit of the profits. So for us, it's a reverse model of profit sharing in the company.
Right, right. So overall, this is a new strategy that we are observing to actually build something that is actually intensive as well. So it must be cost intensive to execute such projects, right?
No, but this is something that we've been doing from 94. So
Right.
it's 30 years now.
Right.
So the whole issue was when solar was 10 times more expensive than what it is today. So
Right.
for us, the issue was not, I mean, we say solar is expensive for the rich and affordable for the poor
Right.
because the poor spend more on energy. For example, the percentage that the poor spend on energy is 30 to 35%, whether
Right.
it was kerosene, whether it's diesel.
Right.
And if we are able to create financial mechanisms for them to own an asset,
Right.
that means you not only empower them from electricity, you empower them owning an asset, and it's a long term. So for us, it's not about, it's like if I tell what is the cheapest way to go to the airport,
Right.
the cheapest way to go to the airport is walking.
Correct.
But why don't we walk? So it's not always that we take a decision on an Excel sheet based model. It's about why do I buy a TV? TV is the most expensive. You actually, by buying TV, you lose 3 hours every day,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so it's all depends on how do we perceive, how do we look, what is the decision making of person, why does somebody value, like if a baby is saved in a hospital,
Mm.
how do we design the economics of that solar system which led the baby warmer to work?
Right. And also, if I am not wrong, you are trying to make the understanding that what is the value of energy that a local problem is aligning to. So, for example, giving a birth to a child is something of a value to say that the cost of not having the child there or the cost of having a bad delivery is what vis-a-vis
Yeah.
if you had an energy problem that was solved and then what
Right.
value did you get out of it,
Right. Right.
right? So this is where you are valuing it in a
Right.
different way, the
Right.
local problem being the main value
Right.
driver.
Right. Right.
Right, right. Amazing. So that is a movement that requires someone who can actually put value to the problem, not to the money that comes out of it in the beginning, and becoming resilient with that over a period of time so that the processes become so amazing for you that it then becomes something of a value to everyone, but it is has a long gestation period, right? That is how it must have been in the beginning itself. Because
Yeah, because Arjun, if you look at no airports in the world make money, huh?
correct, correct,
Then why do we build? It's a common good.
correct.
When we fly, we go and make business, and that access space for the airports. Even JFK has never made money.
Right,
Roads don't make money, right?
right,
How do we look at infrastructure? How do we look at interventions for the poor? How do we actually look at common good per se?
right.
And that's how do you put that in place?
Yeah, and then if you are aligned to the meaningful, so people say if you want to get sustainable, you need to have a purpose and a vision that drives you to the achievement in the beginning itself, so that when the low times come, you can go back to the purpose. For you, the main thing is that you are already a purposeful organization which is focusing on the purpose. So your driving force is the purpose to a larger extent as compared to a startup just for profits. So that's an amazing position that you have to create something of impact for a country that is not regionally well developed and wants to still have some problem solved at a local level.
That's only the way to become resilience, Arjun. The
Yeah,
question is the ups and downs, even if after 30 years we are that organization is profitable. So the question is, and we say that we started before Lehman Brothers.
correct.
And Lehman Brothers does not exist, or numerous software companies don't exist. I mean, in a sense
Right.
that
Right.
how do you define sustainability is always a question.
Good analogy. Amazing to way of understanding. So let's move forward. So let's understand which all regions are you currently active in, and what is your roadmap for that region, as well as what is your next steps in the next 1 to 2 years.
No, 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 no. So see, as a company, they are very much involved in rural Karnataka and as well as Kerala, Maharashtra, etc.
Right.
But also the goal is how do you incubate non-English speaking entrepreneurs from Meghalaya, Manipur,
Right.
Mizoram.
Right.
So basically, we are saying that how do you create an ecosystem where vernacular innovators and entrepreneurs are given a chance to succeed? Because we believe that these type of businesses can succeed if vernacular innovators actually come in play,
Right.
and not the typical English speakers who actually take away everything.
Right.
How do you make a system where, yeah, so that's the push for the next 2 years. Are we able to create Garo speakers, Odia speakers, to create the and also get the money that all of us are able to get because just because we are English speakers.
Hmm.
So how can a Oriya speaker in rural Kalahandi able to create an enterprise without having to prove himself or herself is from an elite institution, for example, right?
Correct.
And so how do you break those myths and barriers? And that's the goal for us.
So when you say innovators, right? So you are creating innovators, you say, in wherever you are executing your product. So those innovators, give me an example of one innovator you made in a local area and then they became value for their local ecosystem.
Oh, for example, if you look at Biren Singh in Manipur, where weaving is a big thing, where you have what he was able to do is now typical weaving is done with the four limb motion. You use both your legs and both your hands. He
Right.
was able to innovate it in a way that he motorized part of it, but the rest of it he made it into a one limb motion that he only used to use one limb, one hand to actually take over the movements of the other three limbs completely, right?
Right.
Now the combination of one hand and a solar created doubling the number or tripling the number of products that he could weave on a daily basis, right?
Right.
And where is the capital that is for branding to fail? Because if you don't fail, you don't innovate.
Correct.
There is no failure capital. Unfortunately, such innovators have to take debt,
Yeah.
which incredibly non-incentive in a way to innovate.
Right.
And so that is Biren Singh who actually created that innovation way in Manipur. Or if I go to North Karnataka, there is a person who actually worked on doing roti rolling. The jawar rotis to be made in a roti, he created a roti rolling machine, which instead of doing they do 200 rotis by hand on a daily basis. Now, using his roti rolling machine, they do 500 to 1,000 roti rolling machines, right? Reducing the drudgery of hands and legs, everything. You press the button, you get the roti, and then they put it on the fire to make it happen, the jowar rotis. So, there are numerous such innovators in the rural areas who
Right.
need the platform.
Right. So when you say the platform, so how does your platform then help these innovators who?
See, in the foundation, what we do is we basically work with them to make their product more efficient
Right.
in terms of how does it actually use less electricity, make it more aesthetic so that it's presentable, then work with potential end users and financial institutions that the financial institutions are able to understand the economics of a roti rolling machine, are able to institutionalize a loan product for those machines in their portfolio.
Right.
So those things like what is required for a business to succeed, both for the roti rolling machine and the person who buys the roti rolling machine,
Right.
he or she needs loan, she or needs market linkages, she needs packaging support. So
Right.
you both need different types of supports to actually succeed. Yeah.
So then Selco functions as a platform. It becomes their extended team. It
Yeah.
is to help them to get in their value chain whatever support they need from the
Absolutely.
financial side or the downstream they need
Right.
for the market and all
Right.
those
Right.
connections as well. Amazing. So from the financing side of things, so are you only helping companies or startups or innovators, individual innovators to get funding in the debt side of things, or are you also involved with other foundations which are creating funds for such kind of things, or are you having your own fund so which is actually also able to support them? How is
Yeah,
this?
it's a mix of both. For example, we also have an AIC, the Atal Innovation Center,
Amazing.
which with the government of India, where we actually invest or have grant monies for many of these rural entrepreneurs.
Right.
We also would actually use some of the resources that we have to put as guarantees in the bank so that they're able to take a loan against our guarantees if the bank is
Right. So
does
you
not
become
have
the
the funding.
guarantor, right?
Right. And then in some cases where we put in our own resources, where we have raised philanthropic capital to do the initial five, six, seven prototypes on behalf of the end user and do that. So it's a mix of us, but we wherever it is required, whether it is from a technology perspective or finance perspective, or in some cases, if the person wants like 2 months of active training for packaging the
Mm,
products
mm.
or defining the market linkages, we also would invest in that marketing or the process building. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Right. So where is your AIC look?
AIC is based in Bangalore and Guwahati.
Okay. Okay. So you are south and northeast currently, right?
Yes. We have mostly focused in south, that is North Karnataka, South Odisha, and all the 8 states in the northeast.
Right, right. And you were talking about 30 employees who work with you, as well as you
No,
as
no, no, no. 30% of the profits go to the 30% of the lower income. We have 250 employees. Yeah.
250 employees
Yeah.
spread across majorly.
8 states. Yeah. 8 states plus Odisha and Karnataka.
Right, right, right. So please tell us more about when you enter a rural market. So how do you discover that this is the meaningful problem that this area needs and this solar can solve it? How do you discover that? And how do you convince the local areas to become a part of what you are offering?
Actually, it works the other way around. The
Okay.
question for us is, and see the selection of colleagues that we have or the people who join us.
Yes.
The first thing we don't look at resumes, uh, and we don't look at where you actually graduate from.
Right.
The ability for us is to simple thing like when you're talking to an auto rickshaw driver,
Right.
when do you reach to that level when he or she stops you from calling sir or madam?
Hmm.
Until that exists,
Hmm.
there is a barrier. So, how do you go to communities where the communities actually think that you are one step away? Then you'll never be able to define the problem statement they are there. So, if a farmer who's sitting next to me in a bus
Hmm.
does not think I'm another farmer,
Right. Right.
I am not,
That means.
I will not be able to work with him or it. So, we basically push boundaries that how do our colleagues reach the level of being a partner?
Right.
So what are those conversations? How do you have those conversations? How do you so most of my colleagues in both the Indian Foundation are people who came from the areas where they come from,
Hmm.
or even if they didn't come, have taken time to assimilate in a manner that is with the type. It's never about salaries. It's never about qualifications. Some might be knowing Kannada or Oriya very well,
Right.
but will never be able to adjust to the community. Somebody who might know Kannada very well, but Oriya tribals will be more comfortable with him or her,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Right.
What is that demeanor? What is that concept? What is that comfort level? And those are the type of people we try to select. And you might be from MIT, IIT, or you might be a fourth grade dropout.
Correct.
So what we've done in the organizations also, we don't have a hierarchy of who reports to whom.
Hmm.
And we don't have hierarchy of saying that somebody is more qualified of this and that. So if you come, we do not, nobody will mention what their background of degrees is.
Hmm.
Because that's where it has held a country like ours back. We are so unfortunately fascinated by degrees. And because we confuse degrees with expertise.
Hmm. So these are the kind of frictions that you might be feeling. For example, these are challenges, not frictions, but challenges to surpass when you enter an economy, smaller local economy, and then you see that, okay, in this is what we've researched. This is the problem they might be facing. We need to get a local understanding of a local friend of ours that we can create here who can just give us some understanding. Is this the right? So you
No,
problem.
there's a person who goes there who would also already be of that nature. We don't even send anybody there. We don't do background research. So
Okay.
the question is,
Okay.
we go with an open mind in
Right.
areas where we select, okay, and then the people that we have already have a certain background. For example, if I look at South Odisha,
Right.
there are numerous of my colleagues who can actually blend with the tribals without the tribals knowing they're different.
Right. Right.
And if I go to Garo in Meghalaya, I have colleagues of mine who can blend with both. I mean, or if I go to Manipur, it's like could be with the Maitis, with the Cookies, with Nagas. So it's like, okay, boss, it's nothing. It's how do we where we are able to bring to the table that you have a certain expertise,
Right.
you have a certain expertise, we have a certain expertise. How are we sitting on the table and coming out with a, like, for example, if I am sitting in rural Assam, in
Right.
Bodoland,
Right.
I have a certain issue, you have a certain issue.
Right.
Can we solve it for Tanzania
Right.
together?
Right.
We'll look at Bodoland later. Let us together
Hmm.
work for Tanzania and see what is the Tanzania has a similar topography as Bodoland,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so, so how are we partnering?
Hmm.
I'm not helping you here. You are helping me solve an issue in Tanzania,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I have a certain expertise, maybe because I have got technology, but your expertise of the social nuances of thinking is what I need on the table,
Right. Right.
right? And suddenly we become equal in our thinking process. See, the first thing I want is where people, if all the people start agreeing to what we say, there's somewhere there is an issue.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Then you have built a hierarchy. So, what is that comfort? So, we would take farmers from, say, North Karnataka in Sirsi,
Hmm.
right? And my challenge to all my colleagues is, when is a time when is that farmer who has an issue has the ability to call you at 1 o'clock in the night? If it hesitates,
Hmm.
then there's a problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the 6 farmers or 7 farmers associations in North Sitsi
Hmm.
are my critical partners to work in North Meghalaya.
Hmm.
So I go with the 6 of them,
Hmm.
and then there are 6 farmers there looking at jackfruit.
Right.
And together, those 6 farmers, we are only offering translation services.
Hmm.
We bring 7 to 8 Meghalaya farmers to North Karnataka,
Right.
right?
Right.
And saying that, boss, okay, what do we do together for jackfruits? What do we learn from jackfruits in North Karnataka to the jackfruits in Meghalaya?
Right.
So that's where we push for. If I see in Bodoland there is an issue of water resource and millet,
Hmm.
basically pick up 20 champions
Hmm.
and bring them to Raichur in North Karnataka and say, let's have this millet discussion between what is required. And then I take the 10 farmers from Raichur to Meghalaya, to Bodoland.
Hmm.
And where do you actually face? And suddenly they will say, oh, I've been doing this for 20 years. Don't even touch it. They will tell the farmer.
Hmm.
Okay. This is a failure I have gone through. So how do we bring people who will stand on the together and say, I went through this 20 years?
Hmm.
It's because if they turn around and tell me, have you done the solution in their house? What do I say? No, I'm sorry. No, I haven't. Have you faced the problem? No, I haven't.
So the credibility is hurt, right? That.
Yeah. So the question is, are we able to bring people who have actually gone through that issue?
Hmm.
Right? For that, it takes time for a lot of the youngsters to reach that level
Hmm.
of 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 equality of many ways in terms of how do you think even
Hmm.
saying, boss, I am not. See, the best successful youngsters are that I am not the solution provider.
Hmm.
So because the arrogance of education origin is so high,
Yeah.
how do you delete that arrogance of education? मेरे को पता है बॉस मेरे इससे तो पढ़ाई किया हो अरे मेरा तो मास्टर्स है
हाँ
नहीं
हाँ
तो
वो expert by book. Expert
yes
by book.
right
Hmm. Right, right. So overall, when you look at this whole process of what I have understood is it starts with the give of knowledge at the real sense of the word for the local economy. For them, you give something first to understand how to start with giving and then become that partner in their growth. So
now
you.
how do I get something so that I'm actually getting advice from them first.
Right, right. So first you get an advice, you understand the problem with them, and the hiring process is a challenge that drives your organization into understanding the local problem in a way that they also empathize with the team, so
Right,
it become a part of it. Right,
right.
right, right. So obviously it is 30 years in making, right? So you must have faced a lot of challenges, some highlighted challenges which were the biggest challenges you faced and you came out by doing what, and how did you handle it?
Then see, the biggest challenge, Arjun, is, I mean, depends on what small. See, the question is, the biggest challenge has always been the hierarchy,
Say
the thought
dialogue.
process of our country, the thought process of our country, right?
हाँ,
अगर मैं कोई banker के पास बात किया, right?
right.
Or if I look at a stakeholder, right? My biggest challenges has been the on the this side, not on the problem side at all.
Problem side, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It has never
Problem
been on that
generally
side.
is not the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. तो अगर एक वहाँ एक टेक पार्क in Bangalore में they were asked me to come and speak to me to them to the top manager, and then when the vice president asked me, Harish, you have a PhD, do you have intellectual discussions in the rural areas?
Hmm.
Now that for me is the problem, right? That is the what do you mean? I said you have confused between intellectual poverty and financial poverty. People might be poor financially, number one.
Yeah.
Number on the other part is, और एक बोला कि sir, I mean, very great. My kids also teach rural kids during weekend. I said, have you ever thought that the rural kids can also teach your kids? Why is it the hierarchy of thinking only we can teach them, right?
Yeah.
That is the problem, Arjun, in a sense of
Right.
when you meet society, and that is the biggest challenge, right?
Right.
And when you need bank, yeah, technology, मेरे को कुछ modification चाहिए, right?
Right.
And I need a so quote unquote expert to actually tell me, right?
Right.
मैं सडनली वो एंटरप्रेन्योर को और टेक्नोलॉजी एक्सपर्ट के सामने नहीं ले आ सकता, बिकॉज ये पूरा इसका कॉन्फिडेंस उड़ा देगा.
Correct.
अरे तेरा बैकग्राउंड क्या है? लाइक मैं एक आईटी प्रोफेसर के सामने ले गया था एक इनोवेटर को, इसका बैकग्राउंड क्या है? और आईटीआई ग्रेजुएट है, यहाँ कहाँ ले आया है इसको? गया ना. आई टुक मी 2 years टू गेट दैट किड बैक. क्या
Hmm.
राइट? देन मैं आईआईटी मद्रास वाला को बोला, तुम जरा सब्सिडी लेके, you have taken subsidies and created yourself in IIT, and this is in a matter of seconds you destroyed the confidence of this young guy.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
This is the biggest challenge, Arjun,
So we
right?
used to do startup events in one of my co-working spaces long time back, right? So I'll give you one similar story of mine. So this is in Delhi NCR, one city called Faridabad, if you know.
Right.
We used to have our first co-working space in Faridabad because we were the first movers in Faridabad, an industrial town having a startup community for the first time. Now, what we did was we did our first event of startup event where they could pitch and investors could fund, right?
Right.
So it was a pitch event on a day. Our analysis for the next 10 events, which was happening every 3 months, was innovation was not coming from my Delhi.
Right.
Innovation was actually coming from Ajmer.
Right.
It was
This is
coming from Rishikesh. It was coming from Meerut. It was coming from Jaipur at that time,
right.
2016.
Right.
Right? At 2016, Jaipur had just started becoming one ecosystem of somebody talking, okay, startup bhi hote hain.
Right.
And these were the guys who were actually pushing innovation to come to that presentation.
Right.
Everyone else was similar to let's make a Facebook for this, let's make a Facebook
Right.
for that.
Right.
Those not meaningful solutions, but digital marketing companies, legal service companies talking about themselves as products and all those things. So we reject most of them and keep all of them who were actually in the mind space of not having too much disturbance happening around them.
Right.
I think that is the way of looking
Right.
at them and how they can be the main innovators.
Absolutely. And that's how do you create an ecosystem that they took over the whole portfolio, no? So and that's been the challenge. When you talk about challenge, the challenge is always like, for example, there was a colleague of, I mean, young guy who joined, and the biggest challenge he had was can you talk to my parents, right? And because they're saying, why have you joined Selco? So उसको बुलाया मैंने, तो उसका पेरेंट्स को बुलाया, पेरेंट्स आए हैं, राइट, बंद करके बोला, पेरेंट्स बोला, सर सेल्को में उसका उसका कजिन इन्फोसिस में इतना करता है, उसका ये करता है, सर सेल्को क्या आफ्टर 60 ज्वाइन करना चाहिए, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. सो आई बेसिकली केप्ट क्वाइट एंड सेड, कैसा था रोड? फिर गाली वाली दिया रोड को, एवरीथिंग एल्स. आई सेड द प्रॉब्लम इज देयर, राइट? यू डोंट वांट महात्मा गांधी टू बी बोर्न इन योर हाउस, ऑन नेबर्स हाउस. तेरा किड सॉल्व नहीं करना है, बट बाकी लोग का किड सॉल्व करना. बट यू वांट द रोड्स रिपेयर्ड, यू डोंट वांट योर किड टू वर्क ऑन दीज प्रॉब्लम्स एंड स्टेटमेंट्स, राइट?
Right.
And that is a challenge. A lot of these youngsters I've seen stay late because of the push that the parents do at home, and especially women colleagues, right? I mean, complete like, why have you joined? What is this work?
Mm.
How do you convince? How do you That's the biggest one of the biggest challenges is how do you get more people who, I mean, एक तो है, a lot of people join this sector from a romance perspective. Okay. Oh, I'm helping. Arey, nobody's asking your help, boss.
Mm.
Okay. And where is the and passionate people unfortunately get stuck into it. And we, और एक है कि बोलते हैं कि बस गवर्नमेंट काम नहीं कर रही है या बैंक बोल रहे हैं, अरे बॉस, those are challenges है करके हम लोग यहाँ है ना. If those were solved, why do we require Selco?
Right, right.
Right. I mean, those are your things to solve. I mean, if you are, अगर कोई बोलता है कि I'm overworked, और
Mm.
सुन कोई आके बोलता है सर I'm overworked,
Right.
I give a piece of paper
Mm.
and बोलता है कि शाम बाहर में जो 10 स्ट्रीट वेंडर है ना,
Mm.
एक जन से लिख के आओ कि ओवरवर्कड है, मैं तेरे को 1 महीना छुट्टी दे देता हूँ.
Correct.
Right. Right. So how do you
Yeah.
how do you keep us? Our problems are trivial to the problems that the poor face in the country. So
Mm.
let's not glorify ourselves. That's all.
Yeah. True. 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 Right. And to build something which is having that purpose of flipping the rural economy into something which is not competing with the cities but creating its own importance in their own self. So, for example, if you say developed, I don't like the definitions of developed that Western world talks about developed, right? But even then, if you look at it from a viewpoint of an Indian coming to the UK, for example, right, and you see the rural areas here, the definition is the opposite of what rural is in India, right? The rural here is actually the opulent side of the economy lives in the rural areas.
Right.
And the people who are struggling, trying to create something, are living in the cities,
Right.
right? So this is the flip that has already happened a long time back in these economies.
Right.
And how can that be achieved when there is some social entrepreneurship slash effort by the government to come together to actually pick up these innovators and let them innovate in their location? This is where they can create jobs there itself, right? They can create those things in that economy. So you are in that zone creating that value for people, right? So
And
that,
also make it aspirational. The question for, like, if I go to rural Ajmer या आप
yes,
धारवाड़ की बात करो,
make an industry there of it, right?
no,
So
and also like 200 square foot अगर मैं बात किया, you think it's a poor man's house, but in Tokyo it's a rich man's house, right? I
correct,
can cheat the design. A
correct,
barber shop in Dharwad and barber shop in New York is no different in terms of size,
right.
right?
Yeah,
A maternal labor room को redesign कर दिया, right? So our whole push is 2035 में जो होने वाला है, why can't I do it in 2026? Why can't I have VR related training processes in rural India, right?
right,
Why can't I have the best maternal rooms that are there in Mass General in Boston,
right,
and I can have it in rural, any parts of rural area with technology, with
right,
decentralized energy, and now with AI?
right.
Can I see? Sab log bolte AI, AI. Arey boss, AI for us is going to create more jobs. Let's be very
Correct.
clear. In the rural areas,
Yes,
right? It's going to, what, in technology, in farming,
right.
as well as in other small scale industries, it is going to create more jobs.
Right.
And that is what I think the excitement of a minute. And the second thing, Arjun, is India. If you look at India, and if I'm all about, if these, a lot of the youngsters could, like, were smart enough to create good consulting firms,
Hmm.
because if I look at the problems of Odisha, and like South Odisha, North Odisha, everything, tribals, climatic zones, weather conditions, policy, etc., of the 30 odd districts,
Hmm.
you can become a brilliant consultant for Tanzania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Malawi,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
didn't, right? So, and then because you're able to relate to the problem and the solution, you get the Malians to go to rural Orissa. This is a solution I've created. Now I can create a policy for you, which you can pass it to the Parliament of Mali. Huh, boss, let's do that because you guys talk the same language. Blah blah blah. Can you imagine that that consultancy and the advice that how do we make India as the centerpiece of knowledge? China को बेचने दे यार, बेचो. हम लोग sector of knowledge बन जाते हैं, right?
huh.
And Africa, North Africa, not sorry, Brazil, Latin America, as well as Southeast Asia, the way we cope up with floods in Assam and coming up with new climatic solutions can be applicable for the Philippines, right? So we basically become a centerpiece of innovation for the world, and that is what I'm telling you. Just what the excitement is. Don't look at Europe or US.
Mm.
Bridge in the south side.
Mm. So how can commercial side of things, so for example, people like us become a part of your movement, right? So I come
The
from
question.
side with co-working background plus an investor slash private equity in the initial stages of it, right? So a
So the
guy,
question is, you know the ecosystem of investments, right? Now the question is, what investment was in California in 1950?
right,
What it requires to become as mature as it is today, right?
right,
If I look at a benchmark like Hussein Bolt 9.96 and you
right,
take off somebody at 10.2, okay,
right,
then you know where you are and what it does it take to become Hussein Bolt, right? Khana,
correct,
Pina, running, tracking, right? So
right,
you know the ecosystem of investments. You need high hybrid in a sense ki 100% zero return in the initial years where the infrastructure is built, the ecosystem is built. Then you look at 0%, -5%, and 1%, 2%, 8%, 10%. Then you actually whole maturity aa jata, right? Ecosystem ka.
right.
Suddenly, if I do Somalia, then you exactly know which part of the graph you are in. What
Mm.
type of investments can actually make sense? नहीं कि कैलिफोर्निया का आज का इन्वेस्टमेंट हमें डाल दिया मैं, right?
Mm.
So how do you, for example, look at the different ecosystems of rural Odisha compared to rural Mizoram to Bangalore?
Right.
Okay. And say, okay, this is where अभी क्या है कि बैंगलोर एंड कैलिफोर्निया का जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है मैं जाके उड़ीसा में कर रहा
Mm.
हूँ बिकॉज आई हैव एक हैमर एंड आई ट्राई टू फिट एवरीवेयर एल्स राइट
Mm. Mm.
this is where expertise of people like you come in and say no no boss let's look at hybrid capital where 90% is grant 10% is grant now over the 10 years I can flip it around like the
Correct.
industrial revolution in Europe actually happened where lot of subsidies went into creating that ecosystem.
Right.
Road, somebody else, you and me didn't pay for the road to the airport.
Right. True.
Right.
True.
Who's creating that ecosystem is my question. Like internet was not paid. Agar internet is not subsidized,
Mm.
Google and Microsoft will not succeed.
Mm.
Deep, right? Who paid for the innovation of the internet? Who paid for it? Keeps it, right?
Mm. So what kind of people can join your foundation? The foundation that runs all.
So our interview, I mean, foundation, I mean, sense that it is it's a tough question to answer. Arjun, tell you why. Because there's a bunch of 5-6 people who do the first interview. Boss, ये
Right.
SELCO type बंदा है कि नहीं?
Right. Right.
Qualification नहीं देखते हैं. In terms of does he or she have the ability to face 9 out of 10 times? No, ये नहीं हो सकता.
Okay.
That's the patience on a daily basis. नहीं हो सकता. No, it's not possible. No, 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 no.
Mm.
Right? Do the people have the passion to? So if you look at the composition of people, you will not know who is an MIT grad,
Mm.
who is a London School of Economic grad, or who is a 10th grade dropout.
Right. Right. It just depends on how do you become the part of this foundation.
Yeah. So there are people who are all various qualifications.
Right. 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 So what has kept you awake? What has kept you moving in this direction? What has kept you always through the ups and downs moving in the direction of I have to do this?
Now the question is ups and downs. So whenever there is a down, our down is 1% of what other poor people's down is, right?
Correct. That is a weight of gone into the air. Like you just put that weight into the air.
Yeah, बोले क्या
Feel
हंसने
enough.
का right? तो बोले कि irrespective of the rich people's problem बोलता है, right? The question is one, but what keeps you awake? कि बस इतने साल के बाद ही there are problem statement that will come to you on your table.
Right.
Pause. How does it happen, right? In a sense, ki, and that's is fascinating. I mean, if you look at some things are easy. Look at drought, hai, floods, hai, ye hai, wo hai. Those things come on a daily basis.
Right.
But some things are like, for example, when this happened some years ago, but that's a very starking when two women came to our office and said to one of our labs and said, बारिश बहुत होती है तो बारिश में क्या होता है कि हमारा सारीज सूखते नहीं है.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because of it body smells and because of it our husband has cheated on us and they both collapsed in the floor crying ki save our marriages.
Interesting.
How do you do that? I mean, आपका PhD out of the door, electricity nahi hai, kuch nahi hai. You have to create a solution that the saris get dried within 45 minutes. So
Right.
you have Google says, kya hai? It's what do you come up with, right? And then people are telling, same thing happens in Gujarat because pani ki kami ke karan the dresses smell and because cheating. I mean, marriages break down in
Yeah,
many.
at that level, there is a way of culture that you can't go around. So that is
Right. So how, I mean, these are solutions where what Google search or AI, right? You start looking at racking your AI as we define AI is apna intelligence is what it is in that it makes it happen. Though that come up or like we were going to rural area where
then
delivery.
if I was looking at this problem in that sense and I had the if I am mirroring you, maybe that is way the way you will think is, see, Rome was not built in a day. You the economies which were Western economies, they don't talk about what they solved to reach the point where they say that this is our definition of developed,
Right.
right? When they were very not a long time ago, if you measure their development,
Exactly.
their countries were in a doldrum with industrial revolution killing everything in cities,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? Other things which were negatively affected were so negatively affected, and all those things. They are illusioned by a lot of things called developed, but they are not developed yet in it. If we define it, you will understand the way we are solving. I think the approach of yours with Selco is the way to solve for India. It is not anyone else who can actually solve it for India because you will understand the problem of India.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and they will not be able to empathize with it as well here. So,
Right.
for example, what is organic and why do you
Right.
put on a packet called organic, right? What
Right.
is organic? You are
Right.
putting it in a plastic bag called organic and you're
Right.
giving it to me.
Yeah.
My Indian way of looking at the relevant things that we've done already, the onion that comes in India,
Right.
you
Right.
have now copied it in the UK and started saying that this is our onion,
Right.
right?
Right.
But it's in the end something that was real and amazing tasting was in India,
Right.
right? It is still there. If we change that, just looking at Western development, we'll just solve it for nobody. We'll actually destroy it. Uh,
Same thing, Arjun. If you look at, I don't know what do you speak at home? Hindi?
yeah, Hindi, majorly Hindi, Punjabi.
ठीक है
Yes,
पंजाबी राइट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट तो
right.
आप पंजाबी में कन्वर्ट करके पंजाबी फार्मर को एक्सप्लेन कैसे करोगे
हाँ मतलब कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट मतलब
राइट
हाँ मतलब ये
आप
कैसे
जाके यूपी में है फार्मर को बोलो ऐसा नहीं करे आप भाई को नहीं ले सकते हो बिकॉज ऑफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट हो जाएगा
हाँ
मारेगा राइट
वहीं पे खत्म हो जाएगा भाई, ये कैसी बातें कर रहे हो, मुझे समझ
हाँ कि भाई को मत करो
में
सो वी हैव अ प्रिंस वी हैव जारगन को अभी
राइट
राइट
राइट लैंग्वेज वर्नाकुलर इज ऑल्सो एडिंग ऑन टू द होल थिंग एंड उसको समझाना, उसके साथ काम करना, नए तरीके से प्रॉब्लम को सोचना.
राइट
Only guys like you who are carrying that weight and have done that for a long time can handle it that way, I think. Yeah.
वेट तो नहीं है मजा है अर्जुन आई मीन वंस यू गेट एडिक्टेड
Yeah.
So I catch hold of 21-year-old, 22-year-old, जो
Yes.
लाइफ में responsibility नहीं होता है. And the first thing I tell boss, you are joining on one condition that you're not listening to your parents, right? And you want to do, you do. And there are. I mean, what I have realized कि our generation has been the problem.
Right.
We have not created the platform. हम लोग क्या करते हैं यार? अर्जुन, what is your age? मेरा 30 years of
41.
experience है.
I'm 41.
तेरे को क्या पता है? So
हाँ
this attitude,
हाँ हाँ
right?
हाँ
I have already spent so much of time. Abhi suno. This hierarchical thinking that I'm not respecting Arjun's brain, but I'm unfortunately looking at his age and saying कि उसको क्या पता, right?
जी.
That is where our generation has not created that platform for other youngsters to come and flourish leadership in terms of.
Right. 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 Amazing. So basically, through my ecosystem, so let me give you an introduction. So it was an amazing talk we had. It was a very good, happy moment I had with you. What a nice conversation we had, and I'll be connecting with you on LinkedIn, and I'll be
Sure.
connecting with you on different startups that are in our ecosystem as well. So I have started interviewing. So you will see some interviews happening.
Okay.
So you will see all of these might be complementary in some way to you as well. So however value you need, I am your extended team for life.
Where are you based, Arjun?
So I am based out of Delhi and UK. So
Okay.
basically 6 months here, 6 months there.
Right.
So basically not based anywhere. I am available everywhere. So please don't worry about that.
No problem.
I'll be available in Bombay in December, so you will be able to see me there if you are there ever, or Bangalore someday if you are in Bangalore, I'll also be there. So we can match our timings.
Sure.
That will be amazing. Secondly, so for example, you are into the carbon credit reduction as well, right? So
Right.
you are creating carbon credits for those economies as well.
Right. Right.
So there's one startup we have just interviewed. So Renew Cred is a guy who actually is organizing the carbon markets for India.
Okay.
He's working on scientifically measuring. So his approach has been found to be the best approach as of now.
Okay.
And he has been into all the funds and he's the baby of all the right kind of investors. So you will be able to find out that he could be a value to you.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
So I'll introduce you to him
Please.
if ever you would like to. And apart from that, you can see all the videos and just reach out to me as a friend.
Definitely.
So you are one of the first 100 interviews that I'll be doing, which will be the community that will grow from there. So we are trying. The bigger aim is to take ImpactX as a platform as well,
Okay.
and complement every other platform. So basically, become that news channel for everything that is good in India, and also become a place where people can talk to each other and just be and in the community of people who are also doing the same stuff. So amazing to have you, Harish. And
Arey, thanks, Arjun. Us anytime, Bangalore or travel, definitely.
So anytime I will let you know my plan. So when I'm in India, I'll let you know where I am. So or I will try to find out where you are.
Sure,
And
anytime.
whenever I enter, I'll ask you. Because your movement is such an amazing movement that you're doing. It's not only solar. The solar is just a tool. Amazing.
Right.
The story opened up like amazing gift for me as well.
Arey, thanks, Arjun.
Yeah. Very, very thankful to have you on the platform and pleasure to have you. Harish.
Thanks, yeah. Thanks, Arjun. Thanks. Be in touch, boss. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Impact Tech Studio podcast. If this episode helped you think about energy, livelihoods, and last mile design, please follow the show and share it with a builder. Explore SELCO's blend of local design, suitable finance, and practical execution. And remember, use technology like salt in dal to serve people. See you next time.